Hello and welcome to Danger Aware Animation Department. Today we're going to be doing some extreme rigging using our Rojobi character, basically. Well, our Rojobi character is our main character. So as we build our cartoons, Rojobi will be the most prominent character. And that's not Rojobi that you see on the screen there. Let me go ahead and bring up Rojo. So there's Rojobi. He's got blue eyes. His torso's a bit shorter than the one you were just looking at. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to make a species for the Rojobi character, because what I've done already is I've created a queen bee. So I took the Rojobi character and I feminized it a lot. I added a crown and added purples to indicate royalty. So I've made a completely new character here, and that takes a lot of work because you have to go in, and once you start moving parts around, you have to then redo all the actions that deal with that particular part. So on the face turn here, I had to redo this, and you can see I left the cheek thing out there. I got to fix that. Okay, so let's see, masking. Oh, we just masked this layer. That's what I want to do. And then here. There we go. So yeah, it makes her face look different without those cheek lines. So I think I will leave them off because I just added them back, and I think it makes her look more royal to have the lips without the cheeks. And if you notice, I've given her a little bit of shine on her lips too. So I doubt that'll actually come through much, but occasionally it might. And she's got a crown on her head that turns, so you know that was a lot of work. And so now what we're going to do is going to make the rest of the hide. Now you may think, oh, how can you make the rest of the hide? That's a lot of work because you got to do it for every single character, and that is true. But I've come up with a method, and I call it digital DNA, where I set particular parameters on the puppet, and I can then produce in the end up to 8 octillion different bee characters, and that is actually more bees than are alive on the planet. So I could produce more bees than are alive on the planet digitally in my cartoons, but of course to make that many would take me many years. But this process, while it takes a long time to set up, once it's set up, we can then create any character we want on the fly. So, as we start off here, we're going to start with the skull size. So, first of all, I had to change this character. So, it's not the same as Rojobi. I made his torso taller. I've changed the position of his eyes to be wider. I've changed the position of the nose to be higher. I moved the mouth down. I moved the antennas up. I moved the widow's peak up. I changed the curls on the head a bit. And I changed the wings. Otherwise, it's the same character pretty much. So if I bring up Rojobi and go back and forth, you can see, well, there's not a whole lot of difference. Let's bring Rojo about the same size as any bee. There we go. So yeah, they're both about the same size. So you can see there is some serious differences. But the reason I do that is so that when I've completed all these variants here, we don't accidentally recreate Rojobi. It's simply not going to be possible because the eyes will always be too wide set, the mouth will always be too low, the antenna too high, the widow's peak too shallow. Otherwise, the character is Rojobi. Alright, so we are, and these are all functional, and they will remain functional with these changes because you've got to, if you're careful with how you do your changes. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I use -32, 32 on my constraints for my bones so that I can back them up to each other like this, put the bases together, creating a star, and then I've got 64 variances for each of these levers. So as we manipulate the character's mouth, open and close, I have 64 possible different places that I can stop here and cause that mouth to be a different mouth. And that's because I'm using a constraint of minus 32 to 32. And at the center point is 0 degrees for this lever. You've got to think of the base as being a 90-degree plane here, or 180-degree plane, and that this is pointing up 90 degrees off of that, but that it's at 0 degrees. No matter which point you're talking about, when it's in the center of its range, it's at 0 degrees. So if we look at the constraints, we see that it's angle constraints, and we're minus 32 degrees to 32 degrees. So actually, if we count the 0, then there's 65 possibles here. But because 0 is our rest state for our character, then we don't count it because it's our rest character. So here is our rest character. If we changed any of these things, as long as we reset them at the center point, which is 32 points in for the 0 degree angle, then everything goes back to the character as it should look at the moment you start animating from this point forward. So going in here, the character doesn't jump and change in any way, but we can use all of these tools to manipulate the character to make those changes we want. Okay, so over here I use minus 32 and 32, but on these I'm using 70 and minus 70, which is the default. When you create a bone and you first go in to add constraints, the standard is minus 70 to 70. Why they use that, I do not know, but that gives us a range of 140, technically 141 different positions that this lever can be in, from all the way to the left to all the way to the right. There's 140 changes. All right, so when we create up our action for skull size, we want to use that range of 140. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into the construction layer, and I'm going to clear all animation from the document so we don't have anything happening anywhere. And I'm going to save my character, and then that means I've saved it to this point. If I make any major mistakes, I can come back to this. So now I'm going to save it as a new name, and I'm just going to add a 2 instead of 1 on the end here, because this is my second iteration of the character. And that way, as I make changes now, I can always go back to the point I'm at right now. So now I'm going to create a new action, and oh, that's the layers. So I come over here for actions, and we're going to create a new action on that bone. So we need to be in the bone layer and select this bone, and then click new action. And so it's going to be called skull size because the bone is called skull size. When you're using control bones like this, the name has to be the same as the action, or the bone will not function with the action. So now we're in the timeline of the action skull size, and we're at position 1, frame 1 of that timeline. So the first thing we're going to do is change the position to the very minimal all the way to the left, so that our lever, I call these levers because they rotate from the base, and we're going to go all the way to 140 right here, and then rotate it all the way to the right. And since I've got my settings set for linear, that means that it will exactly go 1 degree for each of these 140 points here. So we're going from negative 70 to positive 70, and the center at 70 is where our lever is pointing at 0 degrees. Okay, and that's important because everything needs to be returned and reset, not set to a value, but reset at the 0 point for the lever. which is at 70 in this case. On these bones, it would be 32 because I'm only using 64 possible positions. And I could put this at 64. Even though I'm using minus 70 to 70, it would simply limit it to 64 changes. Or I could extend this to 280 changes or 560. It wouldn't matter. It's up to me to choose what I want. But by using minus 70 to 70 and using a 54 here, we have a 1 degree to 1 change all the way through the time. So now we're going to go back to the item of the timeline, and then we're going to go find the skull layer on the character here. So we go in here and we look for the skull. And here it is. So we select the skull, and I'm in my display settings, I'm graying out or fading unselected layers. So when I'm on the skull layer, that's the only layer that is the right color. So now, as you can see, there's a lot of excess points on this skull that you think, well, that's a lot of points that aren't really needed. You could have done it basically the way I did Rojo. So if we go to Rojo's skull, and I show you the points on his skull here, and let's change the display to gray here as well. So now you can see I don't have any of the points down in here on Rojo B that I do on any B. And the reason is because when I do the head turn with any B, these points are going to be in different places, and by having them where I've got them, I can control every part of the face no matter what I'm doing with the skull size. So here we go with that. So first I'm going to use G on the keyboard, and I'm only going to grab the top points, everything from here up. And then we hit T, and then we're at 140. So this is going to be our largest skull size for any B in our system. That's why I call it any B. So I'm holding the Alt key, and I'm going to expand the skull size here. And we'll go about right there. I don't want it to go straight out here. So this will be the maximum size skull for any of our bees that are part of this honeybee species. Now we're going to jump down to 1 to the smallest point, and as you can see, the lever is moving to those positions. So we're going to go all the way to 1, and again I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to shrink the skull to the smallest possible skull we will want to have. And I'm thinking right about there. And then what we need to do now is go back to 70. Now remember, 70 is where our skull lever is pointing to 0 degrees, and that's where we want our character to be back to his static look. So we have to reset, and as you can see, things did change when I hit reset. And so now when I get to 70 on the timeline, I'm not setting it to the value, I'm releasing it from all other values. The moment I move to any number on either side, I'm changing the value. You see there? So those values are going to change, but when we're here, we should be identical to when we're at 0 on the timeline or in the construction layer. So if we go back to the character, and we go into the timeline at 1 here. We need to exit our action. So we just go here to the main line. So we exit our action. Then we go into the animation frame 1 so that we can start animating. And we can change our skull size for this particular character. And now you go, well, that's great, but when you're animating, you might grab one of those and change it. You might grab the skull and change it. Well, these bones are what are known as shy bones. So as you can see, I've got this bone selected, and if you look here, it's marked as a shy bone. If I turn that off, nothing changed. But if I turn it back on, that bone disappears. And what that means is I can't accidentally grab it and change that value. So as long as I keep the Shibone hidden, I will not be able to change this character from being this character. He will still be this particular character with this skull size all through the animation because I've hidden the Shibone. So now we can go back and we just clear all animation from the document, and so you can see it putting back to normal because I've cleared that animation that was holding him. So once you've set a character using these Shibones, you won't want to clear the animation if you want to maintain that look. So you want to if you do clear, you'll want to do clear animation from the document after the current frame. So you could go and set up all your characters in frame 1, do some animating that you don't like, go to frame 2, and delete all animation after frame 2, and that will preserve your character in frame 1. So now, how do we get that Shibone back? Well, we go to Bone, and we show and hide Shibones. So now all the rest of my Shibones disappeared, and now we're going to bring them back. So we go back to Bone and hide or show Shibones, and so now all those Shibones are up. So my digital DNA controls are always going to be Shibones, so that once we've set the character's look, we lock the Shibones, the character remains in that look. So now we're going to do the eye size. Now that, when we did the skull size, all we changed was one object inside one layer. So here we've got this layer, and we went down to the skull layer, and you can see there's only this one object in that. So that was easy to do. But now we're going to do eye size. And if you look, the eyes are both very complex. There's 2 of them, and they've got multiple parts inside. The eye, the pupil, the shine, lower and upper lids, and bottom and upper lashes. So all of those are part of the eye group. And so we're going to now affect a whole group instead of affecting individual objects. So we're going to go to eye size, and we're going to create a new action, and it's I need to be in the bone layer to create an action for the full character. So we start in the bone layer, then I can create the action, and it's going to be called eye size. So there we go. I'm sorry, I'm looking at our garbage guy. He just did a dump, and there's like dust of all kinds of stuff going everywhere. I don't know why. So anyway, so we choose eye size, and the name of the action is eye size. That takes us to the timeline for the eye size. We're at 1 on the timeline, and so we want to move the lever to the farthest to the left. Then we're going to jump to our maximum position, which is 140, and we're going to flip that on over. And you can see right here which frame number we're on. So right here it says frame 140. So that tells you where you're at and what you're doing. So now we want to make the eyes bigger because we're at the large size. So we're going to go into each eye over here. We have to pull up the eye group, and then we're going to choose the group layer here. So we've got the layer control to transform the layer. And now we're going to go up here where it says scale, and we're just going to go 150. So we're going 50% larger than normal. And we do that on both eyes. 150 and 150. And now we go back to the first position, the lowest number, and we're going to go, well, these are going to be tiny eyes, right? So let's go 50%. We'll go half the size that it was before. And we're changing the XY coordinates of the entire layer. And that changes everything differently than if you were doing it by individual part. If you expand an individual part, the line size stays the same. But when you change a group, the line size changes with the group. So you can see that those lashes are dainty, you might say. And as we grow this, the lines are getting thicker and heavier because we're affecting the entire group. So we go back to 70, just like on the other things, and now we need to reset that scale back to 100. We don't want to type in 100 because typing in a number sets the value. Where we want to do is reset the value so that it's released. And we do that on both eyes at this point. And so now they're released, and you can reset the angle and the position as well, in case you've moved either of those. But now the eyes grow and shrink together, and so we can now create another character feature for just the eyes. And with 140 skull sizes and 140 eye sizes, we can now create, let's see, how many is that? I've got a calculator on my phone here. So that is 19,600 different characters that we can now create just with these two differences. So I can come over here and go, well, I want little eyes and a great big skull, and then I hide those bones, and that character will remain that way throughout. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is antenna size. So we've changed by an object, and we've changed by a group. Now we're going to change the DNA by bone. So we're going to create a new action. This is for antenna size, and it gives us the timeline for the antenna size. First thing we do is drop this to the lowest, 1, position 1, frame 1. Then we go to frame 140 and rotate the lever all the way to the right. Now, for antenna size, we're not going to go into the antennas. We're going to leave those alone. The reason is the antennae are very boned. I've got a bone on each little section of the antenna here, and it's on both of them. So what I'm going to do here is simply expand the bones, because the part will expand with it. It's already bound into these bones. So we're now going to use B for bone, and we're going to select all of these bones, and holding the shift key, we're going to select all of these bones, because we only want the antenna bones. And this is going to be our largest antenna, so we hit T for transform point. So now you can see every one of these bones has a move point and a resize angle point. So what we're going to do is grab the resize point, and holding shift, we're going to resize it, and that keeps it in its current place. So we can go to like there for large antenna, and then we're going to jump down to 1, and this is going to be our small antenna. Again, I'm holding shift so that I don't accidentally change the angle, and I'm shrinking those antennae down. And let's just bring them to where they just touched his half closed eyelids. So those eyelids are half closed. So now we've got our antenna size from our minimal size to our maximum size, and at 70 we need to reset all these bones. So we hit reset, reset, and reset, and so now we're back to exactly what it should look like at 0. So there you go. So 0 and 70, or 0 degrees, are the same. And now we can exit back to the main line here and make sure we're in NEB, and we can select the bone here for antenna size, and we can change it to tiny or large. Now, I don't like that these circles that are the base of the antenna are oblonging. They're oblonging both directions. In the big antenna, they're oblong like eggs up and down, and the other way they're oblong left and right. So I need to correct that. So we go back in to our action, And now we go into the antennas. So we can do this. We can do not just the bones, but the bones and the objects, or the bones and the layers. It's all open because it's all animation. And an action is simply a small preset animation. Okay? So we're going to go down here to our 10 antennas. And all I'm going to do is, you can see how the antenna the base has been distorted. I'm just going to hit T and return these to where they're creating a perfect circle. Okay, so, and it's going to be centered on this tip of this bone here. So we just bring the shape back to a circle. Then we go to the other antenna, and I'm just going to pick this one up and bring it over so I can see it behind the other one, and I can move the points until I've got just enough to say, okay, it's almost identical. It doesn't have to be perfect. It should be, you know, a creature of nature, but we also want to make it where we have control. So it's a trade-off every time. So now we've got just peeking out at the edges there, almost a perfect circle. And now we can bring that back over to where it belongs, and we're just going to zoom in and look at the base of that bone there and make sure we set our crosshairs right there at the tip of it. Same thing with the other one. We want to make sure our crosshairs are in the tip of the bone here, so that when this rotates, it stays as a circle. Alright, so now we're going to go back to, we want to make sure at 70 that it's reset, because you can see now it's distorting. So we're going to reset it at 70, and it's because it's simply just a singular object. We only have to reset the 1 points. So we grab this one and we're going to reset its points, and there we go. So now at 70 it's a perfect circle, and as it goes down to 1 it stays mostly a circle. So if we want, we can go halfway. So at 35 we can go in and just clean it up a little. Say, well, it's still distorting a little here, so bring that over and bring that up, and that's close enough. And then the other one, we do the same. We just bring this up a bit and bring this out and over. So now when we go from 1 to 35, it distorts a little bit but then goes back, and then from 35 to 70 it distorts a little bit and goes back. So now we need to do the same thing this way. So we're going to go to 140, and then we're going to just change our circle 1 point at a time. And since we've already done a reset at 70, we don't need to do that again. It does, remember, it's a reset, and it's not going to affect that position at all with whatever I do here. Now if I didn't reset it, it would make differences. So let's go to this antenna, and just bring this one down, and that one up. There we go. So there, and now we go halfway from 140 to 70, which would be 95. And we just clean it up a little. Just make it more of a circle. So now we've created this more complex DNA chain that changes those antenna base as it grows and shrinks. And there's a little distortion still, but not enough to matter. It's close enough for what we're doing. And like I said, it's a natural character, so there should be some natural differences once in a while. So there we go. We've done our antenna. So we get out of here, go back to the main line, go back to the character's base. Okay, and erase anything in our action or in our timeline for the animations. So now we've got 3 sets, and that multiplies out to 2.744 million different characters. just from those 3 changes. So I can go from this to this to this to this to this to this, and everything in between, and any combination of. So we've already got 7.4 or 2.74 million possible characters. So now we're going to go back to our construction layer. Let's erase all that. We're going to go to nose size. This is going to be easy because it's simply a singular object. So we select the bone, make sure we're on the construction layer, 0. Make sure we're in the character's bone layer and create a new action. This is the nose size. First thing we do is rotate our bone to our minimal position because we're at our minimal timeline area. Then we go to the maximum timeline position of 140, which is arbitrary, yes, it's something I've set, but I based it on the constraints of the bone. So there, now we're at our maximum. So now we find the nose, and the nose is of course in the head. So we go here to the nose, and we're going to make the nose very big. But we don't want to move the nose. We cannot move the nose up or down because the nose is used in a head turn and head tilt. And if we were to change the position now, it would affect those 2 preset actions. But we can change the size as long as we don't move the nose. Okay? So we need the nose to be very big. So we hold Alt. That guarantees we don't change its position and that it grows from the center. So we can grow it out to be that big. And then we're going to jump down to 1, and we're going to hold Alt, and we're going to shrink it. And as long as we keep it centered where it was, it will work in our head turn. So now we've got our nose. We need to go back to 70 and reset it. Let's see how close I was. Pretty close. So my maximum and my minimum, the center of them was very close to what the character rest state is. But again, we need to do the reset so that it is at the rest state. All right, so now we're going to go back to the character. And we go back to the frame, the main line here off of the actions. And voila, we can now change the nose size to any size nose we want, any size eyes, antenna, skull. So you can see how this is digital DNA, and we are going to create a species of bees by the time we're done. So the next one is mouth. So we're in the root, we need to be in the construction layer, and we're going to create a new action for the mouth size. Make sure the name is correct, bring it up. This again is a complex object, so we're going to be affecting the group that is the mouth. So there we go to 1, set the minimum, move to 140. I am got 139 for some reason, twice, there we go. And we move this all the way to the right so that we're now at the maximum on our action timeline. And we don't need to reset 70 because being linear, it automatically returns it to center. All right, so that doesn't need to be reset, but the objects we change do. So back to the maximum, we're going to go down and find the mouth. So the mouth is here in the head, and here we've got the mouth. And again, the mouth is lips, tongue, bottom, top teeth, right and left cheek. And remember on the other character, I've removed the cheek. So here we're going to go maximum mouth size. So we simply grab the mouth layer. Again, we hold Alt. Always hold Alt when creating these actions. And let's go, the maximum mouth is going to be right there. Okay, and then we drop down to our minimum mouth, and again holding Alt, we shrink it to the literally the tiniest that we can get it. And then to 70, we hit reset, 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 and now it's released to be as it is in the static character. So we go back to our main line, we go back to our character, and we go to our frame. Oh, I'm not on the characters yet. Let's go to everything to the character. All right, and now we can change the mouth size as well. So we can have a big mouth or a tiny mouth. Tiny skull, big mouth. So we can make very comedic looking characters very easily, because there's going to be 8 octillion different versions. Simple as that. So now we're going to go with face size. We create a new action. Make sure it says face size. I'm going to rotate this all the way to the left. Jump to 140. Rotate all the way to the right. Grab the face, which is right there. Again, it's a singular object. And again, I've added an extra series of points so that we can manipulate everything we need to. So now I hit T, and I'm holding Alt, and we're going to make that face the biggest we're going to go. So let's go about right there. And then let's go with a tiny face. So we shrink it up. And let's go right there. And then we go to 70. And we reset. Singular object. So we just reset the points. So we're done. We're out of this one. And back to the characters, bone layer. And so now, whoops, I didn't mean to go there. So now we have, let's see here, 7,529,536,000,000 different characters that we can produce now, just from these 6 possible feature changes. So we can do lots with this and create all kinds of characters that are similar to Rojo, but certainly not Rojo. I mean, look at that one compared to Rojo. I mean, literally, there is no way you're going to confuse those 2 animation characters with each other. And the more changes we make, the more that becomes true. So let's get rid of all these changes. And now we're going to go to heft. Now heft, this is the hard one. This is the one that is going to take a lot of work, because I have to change so many different parts. But this is where these extra bones come in too. Because when I want to rotate the character's body around, the arms go around the body. So let me go to, yeah, right where I'm at. So as I rotate the body, arms go around the torso there, the thorax. If I did not have the shoulder bones in place, doing this and changing the body size would be very difficult. But because I've added these bones and I've made these bones operate off of these shoulder bones and the hip bones, everything will work no matter how wide I make the body or how narrow I make the body. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to do heft. We're going to create a new action. Make sure it says heft. So the first thing we do is, I'm sorry, I'm having muscle spasms in my back on my right arm, which is my mouse arm, and it's causing me some issues. I'm disabled, I'm in constant pain, and I do all this work volunteer for Danger Aware. And so if you could help us by donating funds to help us pay for the employees we do pay for, to pay for hardware, for software, equipment, building of games, and so on, we would appreciate it. So bear in mind that I sometimes will click the wrong place. I have a spinal column implant that is on all the time, and it causes my hands to shake. So I don't always click exactly where I want to be. So if you were wondering why my mouse goes all over the place, it's because I have an implant that sends out electrical signals that causes it to jump all over. So anyway, now we go to 140 and we rotate the bone all the way to the maximum. So now we're going to make our character hefty. So I think I will start with the thorax. So let's go to the thorax here. And I'm just going to click all of the bones, hit T, and holding Alt, I'm going to grab the side point. I don't want to grow the whole body. To do that, I would want to use nothing but bones like I did on the antenna. But for here, I want to just expand it sideways. So I'm going to hold Alt and grab the side point here and just make the character wider, just like that. So that changes his heft for his body. But as I was mentioning, if I was to try to use the rotate arms now, it would not work because the arms would not go all the way to the edge. So we're going to do that next. So we're going to go back to the bone layer. And what we need to do is use this bone and turn the character, but we need to make sure we always reset it before we exit our action, because we don't want our action affecting this bone ever. So we must always reset this bone. So as you can see, if I rotate the character's arms, they pop instead of rotating all the way out to the edge. So we need to go to the point where it needs to be at the edge, right there, and we're going to expand this shoulder bone to bring that arm to where it should be. So right there. We do the same thing with this one. And now when we continue to rotate this, it should go behind the body, out to the edge, and then back across. So now we need to do that for the other side. So we find the maximum, well, the point where they disappear behind the body, which is right there. Well, there's both of them. Go right there. So now we expand this shoulder bone till the arm is exactly where it should be, which is just barely touching, and then this one as well. And so now we can test this bone. Now we can test this, and now the arms rotate around the body properly. And I could not have done that without those shoulder bones. Okay, so there is what we needed for the large size. So now, because I've been manipulating this, this bone is represented here. We can simply highlight that and delete it, and now we know that we are not affecting that bone at all because it's not listed in the frame, in the timeline frames. So now we need to rotate our heft. Well, let's go ahead and do all the other heft parts because we want everything to be maxed out. So we're going to make this character body look hefty. So we're going to need to go into each of these body parts. We're going to start with the top left arm, forearm, and we're just going to grab these 2 points, and we're going to change their scale. And scale doesn't work quite the same here as it does everywhere else. Once you've changed the value, it becomes 100%. So I'm going to 200, and as you can see, it changed back to 100. So I'm going to go 200 here as well. And now our forearm is 200 times as big as it was before. Now we're going to do the same thing on each of these body parts so that we're expanding them. Oops, I didn't mean to move that. So that we're expanding them, I'm using G to grab, by 200%. So we're going to simply grab this tool and we're going to change the X and Y to 200 and 200. And that expands that body part. So then we do the upper arm, same way, G to grab. We're just grabbing the 2 center points and expanding those out. So grab this point and then 200 and 200. And there we go. So now we move to the next body part. We don't want to do the hands, but the forearm over here, G to grab. We grab these 2 points, manipulate the points, change the value to 200. Oops, 200. And then with the next part, forearm, G to grab, T to expand. That's what I didn't do. Then 200. And there we go. Then the upper arm, same thing. We're going to grab those 2 center points. And as you can see, they're not directly across from each other, but it doesn't matter. Then we choose T and 200 and 200. And there we go. So we do that now for the other arms. So we go down here to forearm and grab and T to expand and 200 by 200. Next part, grab, T, transform, 200, 200. Next part, grab, expand with transform, and 200 and 200. And next arm, forearm, grab, transform, 200, 200. Next part, grab, transform, 200 by 200. So things like the nose, quick and easy. Things like heft, lots of work. So it all works out in the end. You do about the same amount either way. And we're going to expand 200 and 200. And now we go down to the legs. Now the legs are special because there's front legs and then there's reference legs in the back. We have to do them separately. Because we're in an action, we're in an animation, we're on the animation timeline for this action. So therefore, we have to do each of these. All right, so we can go to the top leg, upper thigh. Here we go. Let's start the shin since it's at the top of the list here. So there's the left leg. And we're going to grab the shin here. And we got these 2 points. We hit T and we're going to change it by 200 and 200. Alright, and then the lower thigh, we grab the 2 points in the center, transform them by 200 and 200. Now I'm sure if I want to do a lot of work, I could expand these even more. So now the upper thigh, oops, grab, transform, 200 and 200. Now this time, I don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to bring this point back to about there. So while it did change, it's not as much as 200. So when I do the other one, I have to make that same change. So let's go ahead and here's the shin. grab, transform, 200 and 200. Lower thigh, grab, oops. I keep grabbing before I hit the G. Hit T for transform, 200, 200. And then the upper thigh, grab, transform, 200 by 200. And then I don't like that being so sharp. Bring it to right there. And so now we need to go down to the reference legs. So we've got the shin on the reference leg. So we don't see it, but we can see the points in the line. So transform, and it's easy because it's the same numbers. So if we were trying to match it by just dragging and dropping, then we'd have to get in there and pay attention to everything we were doing. So fortunately, we can just grab, transform, and change the value. And now it matches the original leg. So, and we can do the same thing. We can just click and drag here because we know where that goes and we know where that goes. So we could do it all by click and drag, and we would get very close to the same effect. And all that matters is we reset to the static point at the 0 angle of the control bone. So grab, transform, 200 by 200. Grab, transform. Oops, I got 3 points. I don't want 3 points. Grab, transform, 200 by 200. And then finally the upper thigh. It's already grabbed, so we just go 200 by 200. And now we go in and change this 1 point to right there. So there's our hefty looking character, and he does look hefty. Alright, so now we need to reduce everything to the minimal. So we got to go through every one of those parts again and do the reverse of what we just did. So here, what we're actually at is reset, because it cannot go below the reset point, but we're going to go below that now. And so we're going to hit transform, and we're going to go 10%. And again, I don't like the way it came out on this one, so we're going to bring this over. Let's bring it about right to there. And in this case, I think we'll bring that bone point down too. Alright, but that's the only one we're going to do that with. Lower thigh, we're just going to change the scale to 10 and 10. Upper thigh, oh, we just did upper thigh. Shin, again, 10 and 10. And see, we've already selected these parts for the last time through, so we don't have to reselect them again. So on this one, we're going to grab, and we go transform, and 10%, and 10. And again, grab T, because I don't like this. We want it to be outside the bone, and then we're going to bring this one down a little. Alright, so there's that bone. Then the lower thigh, 10% and 10%. And the shin. And it doesn't look like I've got it, so we're going to grab and transform, and then 10 and 10. I wonder why that one was not grabbed. Did we miss it somehow? Nope, it got done. Okay, so you can see it is working. We're taking our character from maximum to minimum. So now we got to go to the legs here. And now we can just pick these up and bring it till we see where it is on the one in the back. So just like that. And right there. So we can see the other parts. So this one we can just simply go 10 and 10. Same with the shin, 10 and 10. And remember, these are extremes, so don't be concerned that they're so skinny, because it's only when you're going to use it as an extreme situation for the story. So maybe we have a starving ant needs help. Okay, so there's that one. Then we go to the lower thigh, and we're just going to go 10 and 10. And shin, 10 and 10. And now we go to the upper arms, and it's selected, so we can just go 10 and 10. Mid-arm. It's not selected. Grab, transform, 10 and 10, forearm, 10 and 10, and the next upper arm, we don't have it, so we're going to grab it, transform it, and 10 10, mid-arm, grab, and transform, 10 and 10, forearm, it's grabbed already, we can go 10 and 10, and next arm, let's see, upper arm, T to transform, 10 and 10, mid-arm, 10 and 10, forearm, grab, transform, mid-arm, 10 and 10, forearm, 10 and 10. And so now we go to the thorax. Right here. And hit T. And hold Alt, and again from the side only, we're going to shrink this character way down, really thin. Alright, so a very, very skinny bee. And now we need to go to the bone layer of the character. And we're going to transform the bones so that they're touching inside the body where they should be. Let's go to right there, see if this works. Oops, I didn't mean to move that one. Control Z. This way. And go this way. So right about there. And bring this one on over. These are supposed to be well within the body at the moment. Let's keep them separated. And same thing here. any character. And we just want to test our rotation now while we're here. So grab the rotate torso and see how far out it goes there. Way too far. Going way away from the body. So we need to go to that point. There. And shrink this bone to barely touching. So, and this one already is, so this one's fine. Actually, this one can come out a little bit. And then we haven't tested the hips. Okay, so now we rotate it the other direction. And it looks closer there on that side. So right there, so it's a little off. I'm just going to bring it so it's just in the body. And the bottom one looks fine. So that should do it. And select this bone. And this is the bone we don't want changing inside the action. So we'll delete that one. There we go. So now we can go back out to our main line and to the bone layer of the character. And now we can change the heft of this character. Making him strong and heavy, right? Skinny and frail. So, and anything in between. So with that change, we're at now 7 alterations multiplied by 140 each time. So that would put us at 1 quadrillion 54 trillion 135 billion and 40 million different characters. So now we got thorax size. So thorax size, actually that shouldn't be thorax size, because we changed the thorax with the heft. So we don't need a thorax size. What other feature could we change to make this a different character? Let's go cheek size. Yeah, I'll just change it to cheek size. Alright, so we're going to create a new action. Cheek size. We need to rotate the bone to the minimal position, jump to the maximum position, rotate it to that direction, and this will be the biggest cheeks. And so what we're going to do is go into face, and here's where this all makes the difference, because when we've reset face elsewhere, that means we can mess with it here. So what I'm going to do is just grab these 2 points on each side here, and for maximum we'll do something like that, and for the minimum do something like that. And so now we go to 70 in the middle and reset. Let's see how close I am. Very close. So there we go. There's our next value. Main line, bone layer, and we can now manipulate the cheek size. So look at that. And that definitely creates different looking characters. And that's pretty extreme, but so is that. So something like that through something like that is easily usable, giving us millions of variations. I mean, it's only 140 different cheek variations, but when combined with all the others before and behind, we're going to be great. So now we're going to go to the next one. Back to the construction layer. Select height. Create an action for height. And again, this one is going to be bones. So we're just going to change the bones on the arms and legs. So we're going to select each of these B, hit B for bone, and start selecting bones. Yeah, so now I can hold shift and grab each of these bones. And hit T to transform. And now I've got the points, and we're gonna make them, this character is going to be, oh, I did not do the rotation. Well, we'll do that afterwards. So this is the shortest character because we're at position 1 on the timeline. So it doesn't matter which bone we grab, they're all linked. We can grab any one of them. They will all change by the same amount. So we'll shrink this character up to be a very short character. Then we jump to 140 and we reverse it to very, very tall. Now we don't want to go so extreme that it gets ridiculous, like he looks like a spider now. Let's bring it in, how about to there? So there's our tall character, and then at 70, we want to reset all these bones back to normal, and I think I'm pretty close. Yes. So there we go. Now we've reset the height. Now we can go back to the main line. And we can go to the wing shape. All right, so we're going to choose that one. And did I rotate that last bone? No, I did not. Let's go back into height, action, and then we need to rotate that bone so that when it's in 1, it's all the way to the left, and when it's at 140, it's all the way to the right. So there we go, and then in the middle there. Now ready to create our wing shape. Action, action, wing shape. Tell it OK. We rotate all the way to the left and go to 140 and rotate all the way to the right. Now we need to go down to the wings. And this is wing shape, so we're going to actually change what the wings actually look like. So here's the right top one, and how shall we change it? Let's change it by these 3 points. So I'm going to use G to grab, and I'm going to grab these 3 points, and I'm going to hit T, and let's see what happens when we go 10%. Or no, we're bigger. Yeah, let's go 10% here. That works. I think that'll work. So yeah, we'll go to the top left wing, choose those same 3 points, hit T to transform, and then 10% each. And then we do the bottom ones, and we can grab the same 3 group points, hit T, transform to 10%, and do the other wing the same way. Grab these 3 points, hit T, and 10, and 10. So that's the maximum change. The minimum change. We'll go here, and it's already reset to 100. Let's go to 120. See what that looks like. It doesn't change much. So let's not do 120. Let's do 200. All right, that works. So now the right bottom wing, 200 and 200. So as you can see, the minimal value gives us the least amount of wing. That's why I chose to use the 200% here. Now that one doesn't work as well. We'll move one more point to make it work. So here we'll change this to 200. Yeah. And then we're going to go in and grab the points. And grab this point here and simply bring it down. And then on the other wing as well. Right there. So that's the wing shape changes. Let's see how that goes through. Yeah, so every bee has a unique set of wings. So there we go. Now, excuse me. Now we go back to the main line. To the bone layer for the character. Oh, I didn't reset. Gotta go back and reset each of those wings. So wing shape, and we gotta go back to 70. And simply T to transform the whole thing and reset it. And just on every wing, you have to do that. And did we do that on height? Oh, and we didn't do it on heft either. Alright, so on height, we got to go to 70. And we've got to grab all those bones, and they're blue now. Everything we've changed inside this action, you can see they're selected. Or they're not selected, they're highlighted. So we can go B for bone and start selecting it. So just like this. I may have reset them. I don't remember doing it. So again, we got to be on the layer, transform layer, and then reset, reset, reset. So apparently I had done a reset on that for height. So now we're going to wing shape and 72. We've reset everything there. All right. Did we reset cheek size? That's 7. Let's take a look. It was on the face. Yeah. We're on 69. Yeah, 70. We did a reset. Maybe let's go ahead and reset the entire face though. Yeah, there was some change there. Alright, so now we can go back out to the main line. So you gotta always remember, do that reset. It's gotta be done. If you don't, you'll have problems. You'll get points going where they shouldn't go, all by themselves. Alright, so now let's eliminate all of our animation. And so now we're up to abdomen size. This one is going to be somewhat easy, but not as easy as the easiest ones. So there we go. And with the abdomen size, we want to rotate the lever here first, all the way to the left. Then go to 140. Rotate all the way to the right. Now with the abdomen, each part is its own part, but they're centered. So as long as we expand them by the same amount on each one, we should be good. So let's start with the very bottom. Now this is going to be big, so we want to transform the object. So we hit T, grab it, and the scale, we're just going to go to 200. Oops. That seems to be a good number. We'll try that. If it doesn't work, we'll come back and change it. So we're just going to go into each one of these and change the scale by 200. And as long as we're keeping them centered, which we are, they should work. So, but this may be too much. We won't know until we're done here. So. And when the reason we can't expand them all together under the abdomen group is because it would change the centers for each individual unit. And that throws everything way off, so we can't do it. All right, and so there's our maximum abdomen size. Let's drop it down, and we're just going to go back in and do 10% on each one. All right, 10% might be too much, actually. Let's see. Yeah, 10% is too much. Let's go back and we'll just do 50%. Yeah, that's more reasonable. So there's our minimum size, and now we go to 70. We've got to reset every one of them back to normal. So as you can see, our minimum maximums are not even closely related, as there's a big difference here for center point, but it's not. And we're just resetting, we're releasing everything. We're not setting it. Remember that. It's got to be released at the center point. You can only release it by using the reset. Alright, so now we go to the main line. construction layer. Now it's probable that not every pattern that we can create is going to be fully functional, but most of them will. So let's see, now we're up to 40 sextillion 495 quintillion different characters. Alright, so we can change our abdomen size and we can still rotate it left and right. Lose the stinger comes loose there at the extremes, but if we don't go with the extreme, it's fine. Okay, and then we can go to huge. So we can create every kind of character that's needed. Alright, so now we're going to go with wing size. This should be fairly simple. So we create a new action, go into the construction layer, new wing size. We need to rotate this all the way to the left. Go to the maximum position. Rotate it all the way to the right. And this time I think we can just grab the wings group, because they are all grouped together. So if we expand them to large, they should be staying in center there. And then we go to the minimum size wings and hold Alt and drag them down to tiny. And go to 70 and reset. 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 So now we've got our wing size. Let's go to the home page. Go to the character bone layer. And go to the construction layer. Delete all of that. And let's see what wing size. Wonderful. So tiny or large wings. And again, you'll notice that the stroke is changing size because we're affecting the layer. So we're actually changing everything inside that group. So final thing is sex. So male and female. So this one takes the longest because there's so many things that need to be changed. So let's go in. And we're going to rotate all the way to the left. And that'll be our male, I believe. Can't remember. Maybe left was female. Yeah, let's go right male, left female. So for a more male character, our eyelashes should be smaller. So let's start with that. So we're going to go into the head and to the eyes. And we'll go to the top lashes. And we're just going to G to grab. And I'm going to change to lasso mode so that I can draw a circle around just the tips of these eyelashes. And hopefully I can shrink them all as one without too much distortion. How about that? Then the bottom lashes, we got to do the same thing. So we grab, draw, separate them from the base of the eyelashes. Hit T to transform, shrink them up, and hold Alt and bring them in. So there we go. And we do the other eye. G to grab. T, and then let's see if I use Alt. Yeah, it just shrinks them all down. Right like that. And bottom lashes. T to transform and Alt, and there we go. So now the eyes are more male, and I don't want to come back to the eyes later, so I'm going to go ahead and go down to female version, and we'll just expand them. So, much more luscious and long. And don't forget, we've got to go back to 70 and reset. 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 And reset. So what else can we change to make the character more male or female? I know the nose. Let's go to the nose. So we're now in the female mode because we went to the other end. So nose. Yeah, there we go. Nose. Alright, so on the nose, what I'm going to do is just grab these 2 points. Oops. Transform those. And so at the, oh, we're at reset in the middle. So let's go to female. We'll shrink it in. So Alt. And then for maximum out, male, we'll make them whiter. Just like that. And then at 70, we want to reset. And there we go. So now what else? Oh, the lips. We need to go into the lips. So here's the lips. And since we're already here, I just set everything. Grab it as is. Hit width and set it as is because it can change on this. And curve. We want to make sure it's all set. So we've added points to ensure that those are all selected. So now when we go to the female version, we will make the lips thicker. So hit T here and then W for width, and we just make them much thicker. And then the same on the bottom lips. So that's the more feminine version. And then for the more male version, we will of course shrink that thickness, practically non-existent. Alright, and then a 70, of course, we've already reset everything. And I reset everything at 70 first because width is one of those things you cannot reset without a lot of problems. So it's best just to grab it. And it looks like this bone did not get set as linear, but it should. There we go. So now we've done the lips, the nose, and the eyes. The antenna, we can make the antenna different for a female version. The length, so let's go to the bone layer and choose the bones. So I'm thinking if we just shrink these down a little bit. So for female, we'll bring it to just touching the skull there, that face right there in that little corner. So I'm going to bring that one down about the same. And then, oh, that was reset. So I'm doing both of those things. Alright. Try that again. Go back. Go to the female version. And then those would shrink in. And this time I'm not going to worry about the angles changing there. The female can be oblong this way. The male can be oblong the other way. So there we've got the female. We go to 140. The male. So it's bigger. Let's go just to that line. and then to 70. And we reset both those bones. So B for bone and shift to hold. And then T to transform. And then reset, reset, reset. Alright, so now that changes the antenna size. Let's go into the thorax. So we're back in reset. So right now, let's grab the thorax. And we'll go ahead and reset. And it wasn't reset, so I didn't reset it in half. How did I not reset it in half? 70. Reset. Yep, I did not do it. So there we go. So we go back to sex. So now for the male, I think we'll just grab these top points. And we'll just move the, oh, I'm still in lasso mode. Let's just grab these top points here, hit T, and using Alt, I'm going to move them upwards. So we got a stronger shoulder. Let's move them out a little too. Not that much, not that much. When you've got lose control, it's easier just to zoom in and then you can get better control. So for male, no, female. We're on female. So for female, we'll bring them in and down. And then for male at 140, we will bring them up and out. And then at 70, I don't know what I've done. I've lost my timeline proper here. Hold on. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I know what I did. Alright, so we need to go to 140. At 140, the shoulders go up and expand outward. And the female version is down and inward. Down. And then at 70, we want to reset. Alright, so there we got that. One more thing, we'll change this by the curve. So for male, we'll make it wider, and for female, we'll make it narrower. Not quite a point. Okay. So there's our more male character version and our more female character. See, the lips are changing by the thickness, the nose, the eyes. The eyes aren't changing. How could we change the eye? Oh, the eyelashes. We're just not seeing the eyelashes because we're not close enough. That's all. Yeah. So yeah, the eyelashes get longer for the female version. So there we go. There is our 13 digital DNA for this character. Go to the main line here. And you know what? I think I want to change the eyes a little more. Let's see here. Let's go back into the sex, the last one. And I want to change the eyes, which are here. So what I'm going to do is when they're female, we'll make them more round. So we want to grab the layer and hold an Alt. I'm just going to make them wider. And so which I did that. So let's go to the right eye and do the same thing. And I'm holding Alt. Okay, so I'm using the hairs, looking at the center. That looks about right. And then we're gonna go to male, which is 140. And we're just gonna make them narrower. So, go like that. That looks too much. And then at 70, we need to reset. Right eye. Reset. 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 So, now, let's go out to the main line. Oops, and let's scroll out here like this. Choose the main character. And now we have 7.9 octillion possible characters. Well, how can we use those? Well, we design our character simply by changing these values here. We can change any of them, a little or a lot, it doesn't really matter. But once we've chosen what our character should look like, not that skinny. And let's turn the wings. There we go. Abdomen and wing size. And look at that differences. So yeah, go right there. So now we've got a character, and we can hide the bones under hide shy bones. And now that character will remain like that throughout. Let me save this. And then I'm going to save again as, and I'm just going to say demo because I'm going to demonstrate to you something here. Alright, so I've got this character set up on, where did I don't know if I set him up on one or not. If we go back to construction, it's going to look exactly like our static character. But the moment we move to the animation timeline, our character returns. We can also duplicate this, so we can copy, duplicate the whole layer. So this is another Any Rojo-B. So we can open this one up, and we can show the shy bones. And we can grab the layer and move it so that you can see we are actually working on two different characters now. So now we can change this character. We're in frame 1 of our timeline. So we're just going to alter this character so that it's a different character altogether. Let's go File, Import, Moho Object. And we want Any B number 2. And OK. And because I set it before I saved it, it's exactly the same as the one that is there. But we're going to go ahead and just change these shy bones. So we got to bring those where we can see them. And so let's, so left, left, right. Size down, the height up a little, the wing shape, something like that. Abdomen size smaller, and wing size was bigger. Alright, so, and the sex, I don't know if we changed that much. But the point is, you can create many Any Bs and change their values and then lock their bones by hiding the shy bones, and now that character is locked in place. Same with this one. We can go to the bones, hide the shy bones, and now if we move this character back to center, there should be no distortion when we manipulate the parts. There we go. So we've got 3 distinct characters here, and in reality we'd probably shrink them all up to get them in the camera view here. So each one we could rename them or give them numbers and say, oh, this is this character, and they can interact with each other. And they're definitely all different characters. So this one's taller than this one, even though they have similar faces. This one's got longer antennae. The eyes are definitely oblong wide here, where these are oblong up and down. So just variances that make the character a whole different character. And we can now make 8 octillion individual characters on the fly, and any one of them can be saved or not as you desire. And remember, if we go animation, clear animation from document, they will all revert to their base character. So if we now move them around, they all are identical. So that's the thing to remember. Also, another thing to remember is their styles are all linked. So if you go into styles, there's only one set of styles for all of them. So if we change the yellow on one of them, it's going to change it on all of them. Just like that. Okay? So you can import as separate so that they do stay separate, but generally they're going to be the same color. You know, same colors. So just remember that when you're creating. That's it. That's this video. Thank you for watching. Please come again, watch our next one, and hit that like and subscribe. We need all the followers we can get. We need people to spread the word that we are trying to change the paradigm of abuse awareness through play and entertainment. And since I'm on the subject of that right now, I'll let you know that we are getting ready to release our next game, which is going to be called Pollen Picker. So if I go here, you can see we got a little video out, 1 minute long, that shows Pollen Picker being played here. So check Danger Aware on September 1st, and we should be able to release this game with all the features working. And we're currently in beta test, just testing everything out, but it is working very well. And so come September 1st, you too can play Pollen Picker. And this stars Rojo Bee. That's Rojo Bee right there, flying around picking up the pollen. And he's being chased and abused by a bird. So we need to call on Miss Kitty to help keep the bird away from us. So Miss Kitty, would you take care of that bird for us? And there she goes. She chases the bird away. But she doesn't kill the bird. She just tells it, quit abusing the bee. But eventually, she goes back and takes a nap. So we're back on our own. Check out Pollen Picker September 1st, 2023. DangerAware.org. Thank you.
A stranger could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. be a stranger, could be the